Hello. If you have already watched the first part of our presentation on the flipped classroom, here you will find a step-by-step process on how to develop an effective classroom. In our previous lecture, we covered what a flipped classroom is and why we should use this teaching strategy. In this part, we will cover how to develop one.
There are two ways to do it. You prepare your own lecture or you find one already on the web. But before you choose which way you will go, let's see the common path any of them will have. No matter which way you will do it, there are a series of steps that you must follow. And these are: define objectives, define how you will assess them, prepare the lecture, narrate and publish the lecture, prepare the activities, and finally run the classroom. The first thing you need to do is define your objectives. Suppose your lecture is on topography and refractive surgery. In this case, we decided that the objective would be identify risk factors for cholecystectasia in candidates for refractive surgery. This objective will guide you through what you need to include in your lecture or what the lecture you look for has to have. The second step is decide how you will assess the objective that has been attained. Many times, defining assessment is left for the last. This is not a good idea. If you have clear learning objectives and know how you will assess, makes building the lecture much more easy because you will know exactly what to include and, as important, what to leave out. This is an example on how we defined our assessment. This allowed us to develop the lecture we needed. We knew we had to explain in detail the different prints from the topography because we were going to present prints from topography so that learners would determine the normality or abnormality. We knew we had to explain what findings would contraindicate the surgery because we prepared to present complete clinical cases to determine whether surgery could be performed and with which technique. And finally, we knew they had to explain what alternative exams they would have to order in borderline cases because we were going to present borderline cases and ask them what other studies could help them to make decisions. One thing you must make sure is about their previous knowledge. Now we have to decide if we will prepare the lecture or find one. This will depend on your own preferences. The truth is, there are many lectures already online that can replace or supplement anything you can prepare. There are many places on the web you can search out to. One of the most complete ones is the One Network from the American Academy of Ophthalmology. To access all of it, you need to be a member, but if you are not, check with your local ophthalmological society. The American Academy has many arrangements with country societies where their members can access to one for free. Finally, we get now to record and publish the lecture. There are many ways of recording and publishing a lecture on internet. I will mention only the most easy and free ways to do this. One way is using PowerPoint. For recording and adding narration, you can use the capabilities of PowerPoint, and as an alternative, you can also use screen capturing software. Using PowerPoint has the advantage you can narrate slide by slide, and it's always possible to go back and change the order of individual slides. Depending on the version of PowerPoint you're using, the screen and controls may change a little bit.
On the latest versions, when you start recording, you get in the center the slide you're recording and at the top the text of the notes you are recording. When you hit record, it asks you if you want to start at the beginning or at the slide you're in at that moment. A screen capture software has the advantage that you can include in your capture anything that appears in your screen. For example, if you want to show how to navigate a website. They usually allow you also to capture a video of yourself on the side. ScreenPal is a very convenient software that was once known as Screencast-O-Matic.
Probably the easiest and free way to publish to the web is to use YouTube. YouTube also allows you to make your videos public or only accessible to those that have the link. You just have to go to your channel and click on the upload arrow. Especially if your videos do not have a menu, it's a good practice to keep them under 7 minutes. If your lecture is longer, this is not a problem since YouTube you can create playlists. This allows you to build sequences of short segments.
ScreenPal has also a hosting service to store and stream your videos.
Our next step is to prepare the activities. Ideally, all the activities should be in the apply range or above. The best activities for this is discussing and solving clinical scenarios. Nevertheless, I suggest always starting with knowledge questions. Why? One of the problems of the flipped classroom is that many times learners do not watch the lectures before time. So when they come to class and they have problems solving a case, you need to know if this has to do with lack of knowledge or problems with reasoning and applying knowledge. Once you're sure about the level of knowledge, you can go into discussing cases such as the following. In this case, learners had to decide if the risk for ectasia was low, moderate, or high. Or, in this case, they had to calculate the residual stroma post-LASIK and post-PRK and decide if surgery was a possibility. Besides developing your own cases, there are many places you can find examples already there, such as of the great rounds in the Wills Eye and a lot of cases you will also find in the One network. Now you're ready to run the classroom, and here you get into a problem that technology can also solve. When working with your residents in small groups, interactivity can be maintained. But once you have asked an open question and one of the residents answers, you will never know if the rest of the residents had the answer in mind. Most of you are familiar with the answering response systems that use clickers to send responses. But these systems are usually expensive and only allow for answering multiple choice questions, not open-ended questions.
Audience answering systems based on phones are much more convenient. The audience uses their phones to answer and make questions. It's a communication tool that can greatly enhance the learning experience during educational presentation. There are dozens of software to use your phones as answering systems. There is no one-size-fits-all software. Depending on your needs, you will need to choose the one that fills most of them. I have tried more than a dozen different softwares. Currently, my preferred is Slido because it integrates seamlessly into PowerPoint. You can see under the red arrow Slido's icon. When you click on it, Slido's sidebar appears, and from there you can create all your activities, as you can see under the red arrow. As I said at the beginning, there is a lot of software that can be used for implementing interactivity during lectures. You may want to take a photo of the slide to keep the link and the QR code. Any of them will take you to a document where I've collected several resources that will help you get to know better available software and make your choices according to your needs.
The flipped classroom has several pros. Residents are primed with material before in-class discussion. They're able to get higher level thinking when they practice with you. Your lectures or classes become very interactive. And once narrated, most of the work is done and you can use your lecture over and over again. Regarding the cons, probably the most important one is that residents may not look at the narrated lecture in advance. This is why, before starting any discussion cases, it's important you probe what they know with knowledge questions.
Summarizing, in our first video, we have seen that in the flipped classrooms, residents are sent to attain lower learning objectives such as memorize and understand on their own at home. And we reserve teacher time to supervise higher learning objectives as applying and analyzing. On this video, we saw the steps we should follow and how technology can help us record, upload to the web, and generate interactivity during the classroom using answering systems such as Slido.